A very pleasant evening to all distinguished panelists and participants. Bharati Vidyapeeth's Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVICAM, in association with Computational Intelligence Society, CIS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Computer Society, CS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Technology and Engineering Management Society, TEMS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, System Man and Cybernetics, SMC Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Communication Society of IEEE Delhi section, Consultants Network Affinity CNA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Life Member Affinity LMA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Inter-Society Relations IRS Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, Industry Relation and Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technology, Site Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, Region 10 of IEEE with the Associations of Computer Society of India, Institute of Information Technology Professionals, IITP, ISTE Delhi section, and IETE Delhi Center as technical collaborators welcomes you all to the IEEE IETE BVICAM Technical Lecture Series on Education 4.0 ICT-enabled 21st Century Educational Ecosystem. According to Bill Gates, technology is just a tool in terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them. The teacher is the most important, with an all-round infusion of information and communication technologies. The 21st century educational ecosystem is changing very fast, which is also known as Education 4.0. ICT-empowered Education 4.0 is transforming the academia and facilitating to bridge the gap between industry and academia with better prepared workforce. This revolution promises to empower students with better employability and better preparation for future. Thus, with NEP 2020 at its backdrop, Education 4.0 comes at a time when Industry 4.0 is already underway and AI-enabled disruptive technologies have established themselves. The webinar will discuss its all-around perspective, including the real-time issues and challenges. I would first take this opportunity to welcome amongst us our distinguished panelists for the day. We are privileged to have amongst us a galaxy of experts. I would now first request Professor Emin Huda Sir, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth's Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVICAM, and Executive Vice Chairperson, IEEE Delhi section, to address the participants with his inspiring words.
Am I audible, Dr. Ritika?
Yes, sir.
That's great. So, good evening, one and all.
Yeah, good evening, please.
And at the outset, let me take this opportunity to pay my special thanks and gratitude to my elder friend, to many of us, a fatherly figure, Professor Manohar Lalji.
Thank you, please. Thank you.
The advantage which I enjoy with him is that anytime when I request him, even at this junction of the age, that this lecture you have to deliver, he never says to
So
me.
kind
He
of
never
you.
says no.
Thank you.
That is, I'm highly obliged to you, sir.
And thank you.
The moment it becomes 2-3 months, I start thinking that Manohar Lal sir ka lecture nahi ho gaya.
Thank you.
I have to make a telephone call and remind him, all right about sir. And you say
it's my privilege.
So thank you so much.
It's my privilege.
Friends, I also take this opportunity to welcome everyone from various professional society and participants from all parts of the country and abroad. Today's webinar is 150th webinar, 150th series of this webinar series, which is IEEE, IT, CSI, BVICAM weekly Saturday evening webinar series. All of you know that now we'll be completing 4th year. In May 2020, we had started on 26th May, and today we are on 18th of May. So this is the just a week away from the 4th year. So this is the 4th year celebration of the webinar, for which what have been a better topic for academia than Education 4.0, and what could have been a better speaker than Professor Manohar Lalji. So thank you so much, sir. Friends, this Education 4.0 has to be visualized in the backdrop of Industry 4.0. And that's why I say that there is nothing constant in this world except change. Everything in and around us are changing. And those who do not accept changes upfront, they become redundant in time to come. There are many examples before all of us. All of us knew that around 2 decades ago, there was a feature phone by Nokia and 1180, 1180, and there are 2, 3 other models, which used to be a kind of legacy model and kind of a matter of pride for each one of us. But if I ask you the question that how many of us have the Nokia feature phone now, hardly any. So that was replaced only because of the fact that the Nokia didn't accept the changes. And that's why it is said that Nokia refused Android at the time when it was much needed. Now they accepted Android, they accepted Windows, they accepted everything, but they cannot take that leadership role which Nokia had earlier. थोड़ी देर में मिलता हूँ
सर मुझे बहुत बहुत जरूरी बात
कल मैं बैठना हूँ, कल बुला लूंगा
सर। बहुत पॉलिटिक्स
कल
बहुत खराब चल रहा है सर।
कल 11 बजे ठीक है, मीटिंग है 10:30
सर मुझे बहुत टाइम लेना है सर।
ठीक है. And likewise, there are many other examples. If you see Kodak cameras, Kodak papers, Kodak films, they didn't accept the digital camera and almost is nowhere. And that's why I say that there is nothing constant in this world except change. If we do not change ourselves upfront, possibly the competitive pressure, the changing, technologically changing ecosystem will change us. And that's why I always say that इंसान घर बदलता है, लिबास बदलता है, रिश्ते बदलता है, दोस्त बदलता है. इंसान घर बदलता है, लिबास बदलता है, रिश्ते बदलता है, दोस्त बदलता है, सब कुछ हम बदलते हैं, फिर भी परेशान क्यों रहता है? क्योंकि हम अपने आप को नहीं बदलते. एंड दैट इज व्हाई गालिब टू कपलेट्स ऑफ द गालिब इज वेरी एप्ट हियर कि उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और मैं आईना साफ करता रहा. तो हमें भी ये रियलाइज करने की जरूरत है कि in the backdrop of Industry 4.0, the academia is changing. Academia is no exception. That when everything is changing in around us, in this ecosystem, the academia will continue to enjoy the same freedom of education 1.0. It cannot happen. And academia is no exception. So we must be ready to change. And the bottom line of the change in Industrial Revolution 4.0 from the 3.0 is that in education, in Industrial Revolution 4.0, that is what is known as Industry 4.0, the business models are changing and changing every coming day, becoming better and better, becoming more flexible and evolving every new day, and will continue to evolve. Whereas in Industrial Revolution 3.0, instead of a business model, the technology model used to change. When I'm talking of a business model in IR 4.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0 is changing, this implies what? This implies the traditional teaching learning system is not going to work. We have to come out of the traditional teaching learning system, because if we continue teaching students with the traditional system of education 1.0 and 2.0, probably we will become redundant and there will be no takers for our academia. So that is why it is said that we have to change and change a lot. Under the change environment, the typical system of having 75% attendance in a physical classroom, making students to be behind us, behind teachers, to ask for a piece of notes the way we used to ask around 3.5 decades ago in our universities, will be the good stories of the past. But why? Because in digital age, we say that those who can read, write, and speak are not educated. The book's definition will say you that those who can read, write, and speak are considered as educated. But in digital age, in 21st century, those who can read, write, and speak are no more considered as educated. The definition itself has changed, and the new definition says that those who can learn, unlearn, and relearn will only be considered as educated, right? And that is why I always say that the entire spectrum of the academic system will need to change. Our day-to-day teaching learning model need to change, assessment need to change, examinations need to change. I had spoken long back that now demand-based examination concept is coming up. And the basic focus of teacher, where teacher considers himself or herself as a tutor, is itself is changing now. The teacher in 21st century can take any role as a facilitator, coordinator, moderator, supervisor, etc., etc., but cannot afford to remain a tutor. You know that infusion of the technologies, and with the help of the technologies, the availability and the richness of the information available in public domain in digital environment is in abundance. And we need to guide a student, we need to support a students, we need to mentor a students, we need to supervise that what are the resources they are accessing, whether those resources are authentic or those resources are not authentic. Then being behind them for 75% attendance, then being behind them to take notes what I am saying, then being behind them to write the same example and the same stories which I discussed in the classroom. Why can't I allow students to grasp the subject, to understand the subjects, and reproduce when I'm asking to solve a problem in his or her own way, with maybe a better example, which may be a more novel example. So the entire academic system will have to be flexible, and students cannot be told that look, these 40 papers if you pass, then only you will get a BTech degree. These 30 papers if you pass, then only you will get a master's MCA degree in 3 years or in 4 years time. Now the under education 4.0, it's a kind of cafeteria model. Students will be allowed to have 100% flexible system, and they can decide that which all papers I am going to study based on my interest. That what the NEP is also focusing. And it might be possible that in first year he may not decide that for which degree I have taken admission, and by the time he progresses further in second year and third year, he completes and he earns some credits, completes few courses, and then he decides that no, I'm interested because of these courses, these credits in so and so degree. Or otherwise, if he decides that he wanted to have a computer science BTech degree in first year while taking admission, but 2 years down the line, if he realizes that now I'm not interested in computer science because my passion is something different and I want to change my degree, so he can change his degree any moment, and he can take a BSc mathematical sciences instead of becoming a graduate in technology for computer science. So that kind of flexibility is to be given to the students. So no child is left, no child is whatever he studies will get a credit. His credit will be accumulated in some academic bank of credit, and that credit can be encashed by the child, by the learner at any moment of time, within of course some limited period of time, 5 years or 7 years, at some any other university wherever he wishes. That's the kind of the flexible system. And if as an academia we are not providing that flexible system, probably we will be losing clients, we'll be losing customers, we'll be losing students, and there will be no takers. And that is why we are here today, to understand from a person who has seen education 1.0, education 2.0, education 3.0, and then under the backdrop of all these versions of the education, now is going to tell us that under ICT-enabled 21st century educational system, under this new digital ecosystem of education, how and in which way we need to change ourselves to be adaptive to the requirement of the 21st century, which is known as education 4.0. So for this, we all of us are here. So I will stop here so that we can understand what Professor Manohar Lal sir is going to guide us, because the requirement in 21st century under education 4.0 is to mentor, is to guide, is to facilitate, not to teach us. So he's not going to teach anything else to us. He is going to guide us, he is going to sensitize us, he is going to make us to aware that where we were and where we are. So what changes are required. So thank you so much, sir. And over to you, Dr. Ritika. Dear friends, there are other webinar series which keeps on getting announced from time to time. If you have not registered, please keep on registering for the same. All the best to all of you. Keep learning despite disruptions, and stay safe, stay healthy, stay vibrant, and keep our messages floating with your friends, with your colleagues. You also may be knowing that we have maintained a YouTube channel. All these recorded lectures are available at YouTube channel, where from you can access any moment as and when you feel that you are free and you should. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best. God bless you all. Over to you, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir. I would now welcome amongst us our expert speaker, Professor Manohar Lal, sir. Sir has teaching and research experience of over 5 decades, having taught at various universities, including the University of Delhi, JNU, and South Asian University. He has served as the Director, School of Computer and Information Sciences, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. He has also been the professor and head of Computer Science Department and Director, Computer Center at MD University, Rohtak, and at HP University, Shimla, a product of IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, and University of Delhi. Sir completed his MTech in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Kanpur and pursued his second PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Delhi. Earlier, he completed his master's and PhD programs in mathematics from University of Delhi. During 1982 to 83, he visited North Carolina State University for postdoctoral work. He has delivered over 600 hours of lectures through educational channels, including EduSat and Gyan Darshan of TV and Gyanvani of radio. Professor Lal has long research experience. Earlier, he worked in the area of error correcting codes, a branch of data communication. Currently, he is working in the areas of theoretical computer science, formal methods in software engineering, and automation of reasoning. He is a member of a number of national and international academic and professional bodies. He is also a reviewer for a number of national and international journals in mathematics, artificial intelligence, and e-learning. We are honored to have you amongst us, sir, today. I welcome you to this session and would now request you to kindly enlighten the House.
Thank you, please. Thank you, Professor Watson, for very pleasing introduction. I'm also thankful to my old-time friend, Professor Hoda, who is though much younger, but is friendly with me. It is really a matter of honor for me also. I'm really thankful to most of many of the panelists who are just always present over there, particularly Professor Subramaniam is there, Dr. Daman Sood and Professor Bhatia. I'm thankful to them. Last but not the least, I'm friend to all the participants who have spared their very valuable time for this purpose. I'm also thankful to my friend Professor Chaurasia of Lucknow, BBA Lucknow University, Central University, Lucknow, because he has enabled this lecture. There was no internet in the university. And you can see the advantage of Education 4.0 or the ICT in the sense that today I have to attend a meeting in Lucknow in BBA Central University, and still I'm able to deliver this lecture. Friends, one of the best part of my introduction by Professor Hoda, that this is the man who is from Education 1.0 to Education 2.0 to Education 3.0 and finally to Education 4.0. And you can see, I'm amongst the first batch of teachers of computer science from India. So I know what was the situation under about 50 years back and all that. Many of the advantages already have been explained by Professor Watson and Professor Hod in detail. Here we'll go into the fundamentals and how this is enabled over a period of about 50 or 60 years. Some of those issues will take, and in addition to that, we will also look at the possible harmful consequences. Of course, there are a lot of advantages, Professor Oda has already mentioned, but there are possibilities. Every technology is a double-edged sword. It is impartial. It can be misused also. So in this lecture, in addition to the advantages which we have of this ICT-enabled education, we'll also look into the potential harmful consequences also so that we guard it. As Professor Hoda has already said, you can't avoid the latest technology, otherwise you will become antiquated and all that. So in the light of this one, I'll make my presentation. There will be, first of all, in view of the vast, And I may tell I have written all the matter in view of the fact that eye-to-eye contact is not available, number one. Number two, the diversity of the audience. We have young students of undergraduate classes and highly scholarly professors and researchers and all that on the other hand, and they are from many disciplines. So I feel that most of the things should be written down so that these are communicated faster. So in the light of this one, again, the topic is so vast that you can't even touch. Even 1% of this cannot be taught in 10 lectures or so. So this will be a sort of bird's eye view of the applications of ICT to education. Before we get involved deeper in the discussion about a few words of the style of presentation. First of all, we discuss what is the academic style versus industrial style. We had many brilliant lectures over the past many years from the industrialists. I'm really very happy how they present and make very good presentations. But academicians look at the same topic from a different point of view. I, being in the academics for last 60 years or so, being student also, so I have a perspective of presentation, and I'll do that, and that I'm able to do justice to the topic only from that point of view. Secondly, I'll mention a few my personal style, which I have already told you that I have written down everything which requires lesser explanation. Friends, first of all, let us look what is academic versus industry treatment of a topic. Academic treatment emphasizes foundational issues, including conceptual, methodological, theoretical, philosophical ones, and social implications. It may have positive and negative both effects. We must be careful about the potential harmful effects also. Secondly, what is the industrial treatment? They generally discuss applications, products, efficiencies, etc. Now, individual style, I already told that it is most of it is written. Friends, there are some terms occurring in the title. One of the terms which occurs in the title is ecosystem. Now we go by some standard definition and then we'll tell how ecosystem has evolved in the new environment. Well, National Geographic Society says an ecosystem is a geographic area where plants, animals, and other living organisms, as well as weather and landscape, work together to form a bubble of life. That is, everything, plant, animals, everything, and human beings may remain in an equilibrium. But here the emphasis is on living. Living is the central entity of the whole ecosystem according to National Geographic Society. What Britannica says, ecosystem, the complex of living organisms, their physical environment and their interrelations in a particular unit of space. Now, friends, the term ecosystem has evolved. How? Now the term ecosystem is used in the extended sense in which living is replaced by biointelligence, because other intelligences have also been recognized now, or have been developed also. And the other intelligences, including silicon intelligence or IC-based, are parts of the ecosystem. Now there are at least two well-known intelligences in our ecosystem. And we know these intelligences compete and cooperate with each other like any two or more individuals, social groups, and nations too. We know individuals cooperate, but they compete also. Same is the situation between the biointelligence and silicon intelligence. In the ecosystem between the intelligence. Okay. Uh, now, the second term which has occurred in the title of today's talk is 21st century. Now, how the 21st century differs from the earlier centuries. One of the characteristics of ICT-enabled 21st century is universality. It is democracy not only for political purpose, but for economic, education, and social resources availability. So this is a new characteristic which is being filled up by ICT. So 21st century may be sensed as the century of true democracy, not merely political democracy where people vote only. They share all the resources, are intended to be shared, at least if not actually shared. So this is the special characteristic of 21st century. Well, friends, the term 4.0 has already been explained by Professor Watson and Professor Hoda in much detail. But here I'll go a little bit farther. The term 4.0 is prompted by the fourth industrial revolution, of which Professor Hoda spoke, and the fourth scientific revolution also. Both being based, both require fourth industrial revolution as well as the scientific revolution are based on ICT. So first of all, we'll have a brief look in one slide what is fourth industrial revolution and then what is the fourth scientific revolution. Friends, industrial revolutions and disruptive technologies. Don't take disruptive as something negative. Actually, disruptive technically in scientific context or industrial context means which changes the course of life. That is first industrial revolution, first revolution, not industrial revolution, which was based on agriculture. The style of life was changed from the nomadics to the settled life. And settled life led to great civilizations of Egypt, China, India, Greece, and all that. So what we mean to say, disruptive technology, agriculture was a disruptive technology in the sense the style of living at that time completely changed from nomadic to the settled life, which led to great civilization. But here we'll be talking only about the industrial revolutions. There are so far 4 industrial revolutions have been recognized. First industrial revolution started in 1760 and what was the disruptive technology. Steam engine was the disruptive technology of the first industrial revolution. Second industrial revolution started around 1870 with electricity as the disruptive technology. Third industrial revolution or IT revolution starting around early 1970 with the digitization of communication, that is internet, sensors, computers, etc. And the fourth this current industrial revolution is called AI revolution or fourth industrial revolution, has started around the time when deep learning and all those technologies started, on which the general artificial general intelligence and all these things are being developed. So the digital disruptive technologies for the fourth industrial revolution are artificial intelligence, blockchain, 3D printing, and etc. And many other. These are just to name it a few, but all are based on ICT. Now, friends, for a while we'll look at the scientific revolutions also, and so far four scientific revolutions are recognized. The first one was empirical, that is conducting the experiment, observing the sky and all that, which was about 1,000 years back. The second revolution actually started about the beginning of 16th or maybe middle of 15th century with Copernicus and Galileo and all those people. And what was the distinct feature of the second scientific revolution was they started making mathematical models. I emphasize mathematical models of the phenomena. And we know about the Newton, who made many of the S is equal to ut plus half at square, etc., about the motion at distance and speed and all that. So the second scientific revolution's distinct mark was use of mathematical logic. Last few decades, about third paradigm, computational. Computation means where the computer resources were used. But please try to understand computational and informational aspects technically are different. Informational aspect means the use of the World Wide Web and internet. The third industrial scientific revolution was based when computer systems were used in isolation. That is, the networking, of course, was there, but it was very elementary and rudimentary. But the fourth industrial revolution has connected almost everything in the world to each other. Even the trees or your refrigerator is connected to you. All human beings are connected. All the plants and the vegetable world vegetation world is connected, can be connected if not connected at all. So the connectivity, and because of the connectivity, the possibility of sharing anything, the physiological processes which are going in a particular tree can be monitored from here by anybody having the required instruments and all that. That is the special characteristics of this current paradigm of science and also of industrial revolution. So friends, we as academicians go into the fundamentals of this one. Now coming back to the topics to be discussed, briefly I enumerate the topics which I'll mention and discuss briefly. Why education? We will look at why universal access, why ICT. Then there are three phases of ICT. I have mentioned four industrial revolutions and four scientific revolutions, but there have been three stages of ICT itself. Now then the next is cyber academic linkages, some contributions of IT revolution to purely academics. Not all fields, most of the applications are not, but for specifically academics, what have been, I'll briefly mention within one or two PPTs. Now, the next we discuss assistive technologies for this differently enabled, followed by emerging forms and technology for learning in general and books. Friends, I've told you what is 21st century's characteristics or differentiating property, that it is universality. All resources must be at least theoretically be available to everybody almost in equal measure. And how, I'll give you an example how differently enabled people are getting equal opportunity to education and research as the other ones are getting it. Then there is a brief mention of the challenging problems relating to e-learning. Friends, I mentioned, as academician or as from a university, our duty is also to look at the potential harms, not saying the harmful effects. I'm saying the potential harmful. And it is our duty to warn the society. Of course, because of many advantages, we must use the technology and we can't give up, otherwise we will be left behind like Nokia. The main thing is that we must know that technology is a double-edged sword. It is impartial. It has the potential both for useful and harmful. And there is definitely a section of the society which will definitely make having the disadvantage of using at the cost of others. So briefly, we'll look at those possibilities also. And then I'll discuss next topic, e-science and e-research. E-science and e-research, you can say, are doing science in fourth and third paradigm of science or technology. And e-research also, you may say, it is for conducting research in the fourth industrial revolution period. Then we'll discuss briefly digital humanities also, but it will be very small because the time, there are very large number of slides I can't afford, but I have delivered a lecture on digital humanities on this platform also. So purpose is that it is not only sciences, but all academic disciplines have been affected and affected rather positively by the ICT revolution. Even humanities are also changing, but we'll have only 3-4 slides just to give an idea that how it is affecting humanities also. Then, friends, we come to some serious issues, problems relating to delivery of learning in ludicase. I'll explain ludicase. Ludicase is that everybody is able to write anything, even fake news and all that, etc. So now a new environment has arisen. I'll discuss in detail there. And finally, issues relating to learning in 20th and 21st century, followed by some references to current literature, etc. So friends, first of all, I start why education. Education is not delivered merely for the development of cognitive and professional skills needed for survival in today's technological world, but also for its civilizing role. I emphasize civilizing role. As H.G. Wells well-known English writer aptly has said, civilization is in a race between education and catastrophe. Only education can check catastrophe. This is well-known writer HCL. So friends, we don't go after education only for professional purpose or only a livelihood in later life, but this is also very important, civilizing role. Then education helps in developing core values of compassion, enlightenment, mutual understanding, and tolerance, leading to dialogues instead of clashes between civilizations, as American political scientist advisor Huntington has written in his book, The Clash of Civilizations. I repeat, for the sake of effect, that education helps in developing core values of compassion, enlightenment, mutual understanding, and tolerance, and leads to dialogues instead of clashes. So this is very important role which we should not forget ever of the education. Then why universal access? I have of course mentioned earlier also that it is 21st century is the century of universal access to all resources. Universal access to education is essential for making earth free from adversity, for peaceful existence, and for developing finer aesthetic human values. Here we differ from the machine or silicon intelligence. We still have aesthetic values. We care for each other. We are not only individual, we are not only intelligent, we are spiritual also, who care for others also besides oneself. Here, universal access to education means the ability of all people to have equal opportunity in education, regardless of their physical location, social class, race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, background, or physical mental. So, this is the reason why we should have universal access. Now, why technology for you? This is another question, please, friend. The global village view of the world presents us with a number of formidable challenges, including the ones due to the following facts: that patterns of trade, competition, and technological innovations are changing at ever increasing rates, and therefore skill-based production and massive skill training is required. There is exponential growth of, again, at ever increasing rate and of there is exponential growth of knowledge. It needs to be disseminated if it is to be useful at all. So friends, I think I've gone. Where is the next slide? What has happened? It is not moving. Why technology for universal access? There are worldwide social concerns for freedom and general quality of life. Inaccessibility due to physical location or physical and mental. Demand for universal access in respect of the opportunities for relevant quality education, especially for economic survival, democracy in all laws. However, as Professor Herda has already mentioned, conventional universities can't meet these, and therefore we need technology for universal access. I repeat, conventional universities are not able to cope with the providing education equitably to people in far-flung areas and to differently challenged people. The other dimension, how? It should not have been why, it is how. How ICT provides all these facilities. Because of what reasons? And you know that storage has become so cheap. Earlier libraries were full with voluminous books and all that paper books, but now you can have thousands of books in a pen drive which costs about 400 rupees or so. So this is one of the advantages, that the storage of knowledge has become very handy. Second, calculation speed. I'm just repeating for the sake of effect, otherwise everybody knows. Millions of numbers, each of millions of digits, can be multiplied or added in a fraction of a second. So the speed of calculation is second reason for the use of ICT in every walk of life, especially in academics and research. copyability. Just you have one book, electronic book, and you can make thousands of books. If my lecture here is being recorded, thousands of copies can be made out of that one. So copyability, everybody knows, I need not emphasize this. Now everybody knows these things, mobile phones, availability of knowledge at the click of a button. Medical expertise in respect of diagnosis, treatment, and even telemedicine and telesurgery are instantly available. So these are some of the advantages because of which ICT is used for the, and you know, weather forecasting and disaster forecasting really are serving humanity to a large extent. Now, friends, we'll go to another stage, that three phases or stages of ICT revolution. Briefly, we'll look, and then we'll see cyber academic linkages and some subtle contributions of IT revolution. Well, friends, ICT revolution has given sort of ICT development, I should call, has given through three stages. As I mentioned earlier, the first stage was computerization, where the people solved problems on isolated computer systems. Then the second stage was informationization because of the internet and World Wide Web. And this enabled the people to collaborate in education and research across the globe. This was because of the World Wide Web and ICT and internet. And third stage is sensorization, where there are sensors, even with the, which are monitoring the physiological processes in various trees and everything. That is, every entity on earth otherwise is sensorized, and the information about that entity can be had. So this is the third stage, which is still going on. So these are the three stages of ICT on which we are discussing. First stage, I have told, the basic idea here I want to tell my young friends is that single concept of computer science. If somebody wants to know, ask you, what is the single concept in terms of which whole computer science can be described, then this concept is algorithm. Step-by-step method, finite method of solving problems, if it exists. So the first stage, or computerization stage, depended upon developing algorithms in isolation of communication to others. And the second stage was informationization, in which the internet and World Wide Web came into the picture. And here, generally the people, young people or even mature people, confuse what are the concepts, how internet and World Wide Web are different from each other. For this purpose, I may tell, internet is sort of highway. It is a network of roadways, only, nothing else. Where the World Wide Web is a highly globally connected information system, or globally connected library. So these two concepts are different, and these two concepts have enabled the informationization of ICT. Now, friends, third stage, I've already told that sensors have become very powerful. They can sense and get information from anything, animate or inanimate, etc. This stage is going on. You can see the advantage when it is fully developed. This is already happening, but it will happen much more in much more advanced forms in the near future also. So we discussed the three stages of ICT. Now next we discuss linkages, how ICT's various components are transforming the academics, and how new disciplines are arising out of the old ones. We briefly look at it. Friends, for any discipline, conventional discipline, old-time discipline, at least three types of new disciplines have also arisen. Generally, we obtain those new disciplines by prefixing digital and computational, and postfixing information, informatics. So new disciplines out of the old ones like digital humanities, digital enterprise, digital economy, and digital sociology. You put digital prefix, many of the old disciplines or conventional disciplines you will be getting a new one. Then computational humanities, computational economics, computational sociology, informatics, security informatics, social informatics, and medical informatics. Friends, I would have told the differences between these three types of, but the lecture is already very large. And whenever I get opportunity next time, I'll tell how digital economy differs from computational economics and by informatics, all that. But anyway, at present, I'm telling you, for each conventional academic discipline, at least three new type of disciplines have arisen, in addition to many other completely new academic disciplines because of the ICT revolution. Now, friends, briefly we'll discuss some of the questions which are not discussed generally about the application of ICT. This is specific to this one. Now, friends, you know, in academics, raising a very good question is much more important a contribution as compared to solving many problems and publishing papers. Now, the ICT revolution has given rise to many new questions which the academics must search answers for. First of all, what is intelligence? Earlier, intelligence was supposed to be only human centric. But now silicon intelligence is showing in some respect much better results than the bio intelligence or carbon intelligence. Now the question is, it is not human centric. So what it is? Now we must consider afresh what may be intelligence. What is life? Your software, etc., and even many other instruments show life-like properties. What can be known and what cannot be known. Earlier, what was known or possibilities is a question of epistemology in philosophy. But now new horizons have arisen because of the ICT and all that. We have silicon intelligence with us, which is surpassing us in some domains of human experience. And therefore, now what are the possibilities of new type of knowledge which we may acquire? And what is identity of person? This is a new question. When gradually one by one parts of a person are replaced, after how much replacements one becomes a different person? These have new questions which are really fundamental questions which the academics need to tackle in order to advance the human intelligence and human knowledge or human experience and all that. So these are some of the questions. Apart from these ones, other academic challenges due to IT revolution in academics at fundamental level are new legal questions. In the case of damage by a software or self-driving car, who will be responsible for that? Is it the owner of the car? Is it the designer of the car? Or is a person who sold, etc., etc.? Now, the question of liability for damage is not only of the owner. Similarly, new type of questions and challenges in almost every academic discipline, how to bridge gap between two distinct lenses. This is another question. How we, of course, know the different characteristics of human intelligence and silicon intelligence, but how to bridge the gap so that it facilitates human understanding of the world. Now, some contributions of revolution to it, though it is implicitly said in the previous slide, yet we mention it explicitly. A subtle contribution of IT revolution to academics. In order to solve a problem using a machine for execution, we have also to think how a machine will do it. Friends, it is a very important question. Yani, the software designers at the highest level doesn't think only as an intellectual, as a human intellectual. He or she has to also think how the machine will execute it, so that intellectual or designer at the top level has to think as a human being, as a human intelligence, and as a machine intelligence. So it is a sort of meta intelligence which is being required in order to design good software. Friends, I've already told that how academic facilities are being made available by ICT at the click of a button. You have Wikipedia, worldwide, where large subject-specific databases, powerful tools for creating word processes, searching, accessing knowledge, development of e-learning tools, techniques, appropriate pedagogies. Numerous initiatives in respect of the massive open online learning. So these are some of the visible advantages of the earlier one was the subtle contributions of the technology-based universe. I mentioned that 21st century is the century of universality. Nobody should be left behind. I'll show some of the images how technology is enabling the differently challenged people with equal opportunity to the academic and research. Friends, you know this man, he was down with syndrome problem and he was not able to move any part of his body below the neck. And he wrote the best sellers of his time only because of the ICT revolution. And this is the best example, I think, how ICT enables the great potentially scholarly people to show their talent to the world and to make contribution to the world. But other examples are there. Anyway, this is also, these are some of the other ones, how it is helping braille printers, screen readers, touch screen, eye tracking. These are some of the IC tools are there, then Windows and all that. Now, these are some of the visual ones. These people are able to use, because of the ICT revolution, they are now able to study and do research also. And this man can't move anything. This man can only wink. He can only wink with his eyelashes. And is able to use the computer and make his life meaningful. So already you have seen that how ICT is enabling universalization or democratization of the society. Well, friends, ICT based, next we'll discuss e-learning. Mostly e-learning are there. I'll discuss what is e-learning, what are its advantages, and I have said as academics, our responsibility also to look at some of the disadvantages also. So hurriedly we'll go. E-learning is an umbrella term covering a number of very closely related but distinct terms. So we'll look briefly. E-learning, online learning, virtual learning, M-learning, these are almost similar with minor subtle differences. A learning activity is supported by electronic means, including offline. You may not be connected with the internet, whereas online requires the internet connection. Virtual learning requires any software. That is, if you use any software, it can be called virtual learning. M-learning, of course, through the mobile devices, etc. But in general, the technique do not, and then we use the term e-learning. And while discussing the advantages and disadvantages, we'll be using the term e-learning. So, friends, key attributes of e-learning are many to many. Of course, we know we can communicate with many people simultaneously and have any place. As I told just now that I am sitting in Lucknow and still I am able to deliver the lecture which I should have otherwise delivered from Delhi. So any place, any time, this lecture may be listened to later on also. Text enhanced by multimedia. In my lecture also you might have seen I've used not multimedia but images, but in some of my other lectures I use multimedia also. Computer conferencing, which is already going on. So these are some of the attributes of e-learning. Then the new forms of learning, e-learning are coming up. Massive open online courses is one of the latest form of delivery. MOOCs were first introduced in 2008 and emerged as a popular mode of learning in 2012. MOOC is an online course aimed at unlimited participation and open access via the web. In addition to traditional course materials such as film, lecture, reading, Many MOOCs provide interactive user forms to support community interaction. So these are the latest form, not the latest, but it is a advanced form of e-learning. Now, some of the platforms which are well known and who have made these are some of the Robert Jeminsky argues that they came, that is, people have criticism also of MOOCs that they are not that successful as they should have been. Anyway, I am telling you, every technology has its plus and minuses also, and so had the MOOCs also. Some well-known MOOCs provide, there is Coursera, UDCET, edX. There are many others. I have nothing special about them, just to give some examples. Now, advantages of e-learning can be, you can uh, fix your class at any time. Student can choose learning material for their level. If they are not fast enough to catch up, they may start with the lower level. And e-learning reduces the time of travel. You need not go to the universities, world university. Student can study anywhere. These are self-paced learning, definitely. Because the course material is available always, even the teachers and other counselors are available. Flexibility to join discussion at any time. Instructors and students both believe e-learning. They believe this is, of course, controversial statement. E-learning helps improve computer skills. Of course, you should know computer skills which are required. Otherwise, also, so e-learning improves. E-learning can build self-confidence. Of course, it is a controversial statement. Students can go over material they have already mastered and concentrate there in areas containing new information. The courses are generally cheaper, So these are some of the advantages. However, there are disadvantages also, as I mentioned, and it is our moral duty and as academic duty to look at that also, so that people know the other side also. Learners who have problems with low motivation, if some student is demotivated, as is happening in some cases in the IITs nowadays and all that. So if that student doesn't have access to a human counselor, the problems may aggravate. Without common structure of students may be confused, of course. And due to limited contact, students may feel isolated. So these are some of the psychological and other problems of e-learning. Also, teacher may not be always available. And even today in Lucknow, I'm delivering this lecture from a friend's room because in my room in guest house, internet is not at all available. And it is a matter of chance that I have many friends here. Had I been not having any friend, I may not have been able to. So these are some of the technical problems, though they arise once in month, say, thousands of cases, but these are definitely problems we have to. Now, friends, after discussing e-learning, which is the most fundamental concept of the ICT-based revolution, we briefly discuss what is e-science and e-research. Friends, briefly, then I'll go in little bit discussion. Using third and fourth paradigm of ICT. What is the third paradigm? Computational. What is the fourth paradigm? Information based, internet or worldwide based. So, and sensorization. So, conducting science using all the three modes of ICT, computerization, informationization, and sensorization, if you are able to conduct and use fruitfully, then that science is called e-science, and similarly that research is called e-research. In the outline, I'll go into the details also. So in more details, you should be able to have or use Web 2.0, internet-based tools. It involves increasing computerization of research process, experimentation with new form of data visualization. This is very important. Massive data in petabytes and all that, that is which may require millions of floppy disks. Data is there, but what is the essence of that data? That can be, the essence can be through data mining and all those new techniques are there. So e-research, I'll give you some examples where data requires billions of disks. How to get sense out of that? I'll give you some examples. So e-research involves use of ICT in getting essence or knowledge out of massive data. So friends, this is very important. We'll read it twice. One major departure in e-research from conventional research is the goal of presenting not only the data, but the process. Friends, this is the major difference between e-research and conventional research. Earlier, whenever we publish our research, it was the conclusions and the data or whatever is the outcomes. But now, in order to authenticate our research, the whole process which we have gone through in coming to a particular conclusion must be copied so that anybody else also repeat that process and see the authenticity of your claims. So this is e-research. It is a better measure of authenticity. That is not only the data and your claims and summaries, but the whole process of hours and hours of computation must be also copied and put on the internet or World Wide Web. So this is the difference between the conventional research and e-research. Before going into more details, some examples of explaining e-science and e-research. Friends, this is a Higginbotham project which is going on, which can be said to be e-science and e-research based project. It is CERN, organization of in French, European Organization for Nuclear Research. It was established in 1954 and is based on Geneva, has 23 member states, with Israel being the only non-European state. Operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. In 2016, CERN generated 49 petabytes of data. And you can see what is a petabyte. A petabyte requires 1.5 million CD-ROM disks. You can see how much data is being generated. But generating of massive data is useless unless we can extract knowledge or useful part of it or summarize it. So this is the task. You can say it is e-research or and e-science. Another, you can see the magnitude of the calculations and storage of data being done, that a petabyte requires this many disks and exabyte requires 1.5 billion CD disks to store it. Now, another project, I have many projects, but here, because of lack of time, I'll give only two examples here. Astronomy's Pan-STARRS consists of astronomical cameras, telescopes, and a computing facility for surveying the sky for moving or variable objects on a continual basis. Continuously, sky is being scanned, producing accurate astronomy and photometry of already detected objects. The entire sky can be surveyed 4 times a month. Each image, you see, single image requires 2 gigabytes of storage. So, and the whole day it is taking millions of these images. So each image requires 2 gigabytes of storage. Exposure time will be 30 to 6. Since images are taken on a continuous basis, about 10 terabytes or bytes of data is collected every night. In January 2019, the Pan-STARRS data release was announced as 1.6 petabytes, which means millions of disks were required to store the data. Of course, we have not disk but other storage medium, but just to give you an idea how much data is being stored and processed. These are some of the conclusions. They have discovered some of the new things through their experimentation and research. Now, this is another one. Our data tsunami required processing. Friends, collecting of data in itself is nothing until unless, I have repeatedly said, until unless we get useful knowledge out of it, until unless we get essence out of that, that which can be used for further. And this, for that, computational power is required, and this is one of the computer systems which is used for massive processing. Now, briefly, what is e-science? Summarizing, e-science or e-science is computationally intensive science, third paradigm. I've said computation means third paradigm, that is carried out in highly distributed networks. That is, many of the people are working across simultaneously in exchanging messages and information. Science that uses immense big data sets that require great computing. This is fourth paradigm. Great computing. Many of the computers are simultaneous, but as a system, not in isolation. The term sometimes include technology that enable distributed access grid. For this was for conducting e-science, a new type of video conferencing or one advanced type of video conferencing is required, which is called access grid. So you can say it is a very advanced form of video conferencing to conduct e-science. I hope you understand it. Now, friends, e-science, how and cyber. The discussion so far is only theoretical. However, if we examine the process, underline our process by which e-science is conducted, a number of new facts are revealed about it. Well, the term e-science was coined by Johann Taylor in 1999. Well, friends, this slide is very important, which we will read two times. What e-science does. Friends, what e-science does is that first of all, whatever is there of scientific inquiry work in physical world, it is transformed in electronic world or cyberspace, which is called cyberspace. So first of all, what is the first job e-science? To translate, to create an image of the physical world, which is of our interest, into cyberspace. Use cyberspace resources for computation, for extracting knowledge, etc., to get important facts, etc., in cyberspace, and then translating those facts and conclusions derived in cyberspace back to physical space, so that whatever we are reading on our screen is a physical space. It is of course electronic is generated, but we people, it is some physical aspect which we are looking at. So what is the major task e-science is doing is that the physical world, which is of our interest, and the facts about that, the principles about that, which are there in the physical world, first of all, are translated to cyberspace. And then cyberspace is used for computations, etc., to get valuable knowledge out of that. And then that valuable knowledge is again transferred to us in writing to in the physical world. So that is the major role of e-science. I hope you understand whatever else we are saying, but this slide is very important from this point of view. Types and approaches of next slide. Friends, I have already said, but still I'll go. I think it may be a repetition also because I was too busy. That every academic discipline have given rise to conventional discipline, has given to computational X informatics, and maybe repetition also. Now, now some of the I'll discuss here. There I gave some different example. We have computational physics, computational chemistry, computational, and so on. We have bioinformatics, geoinformatics, nursing informatics, security informatics, digital humanities, digital sociology. Friends, I mentioned that all these three are different type of disciplines, but because of lack of time, I am not able to discuss what is the difference between computational physics and physical informatics and digital informatics, etc. Digital is used as a prefix not only for academic discipline, but in other contexts also, socio-economic phenomena, for example, digital culture, digital economy, digital identity, digital infrastructure, digital institution, and digital age. Digital age is not something which is in age is something different from a digital economics or something like that. Friends, computational science, the third paradigm, can be thought of as the intersection of three disciplines: science, computer science, and mathematics. So, computation science, third paradigm, is an intersection of science, computer science, and application. Now, informatics X, fourth paradigm. So far, computation in isolation is third paradigm. The fourth paradigm, or informatics X, is fourth paradigm. In academic context, informatics has a number of connotations. We cannot consider just two. Friends in Europe, they don't call it computer science. They call it informatics. And there is a very valid reason which we discussed in just mentioning. The term informatics is used in Europe for discipline which is called computer science in the US. And they have a reason. The reason probably is that the term computer science gives the impression that it is science of computer. Computer science gives the impression that it is science of computer, which is not so. As the pioneers of the field, like it says, the relation of computer to computer science is the same as the relation of telescope to astronomy. You can't say astronomy is just the science of telescope. No. Similarly, computer science is not the science of computers only, but computer science term gives an impression of that. And therefore, Europeans don't use the term computer science, they use the informatics. Informatics, fourth revolution. However, here we use the in the sense of data science. This is whatever is data analytics, etc., whatever is going to get essential, to get useful knowledge out of massive data is given the name informatics, and it is the fourth paradigm of research and application and education also. Well, friends, we'll discuss some of the distinguishing features of e-science and e-research. Earlier, scientific publications were only in reputed journals, and they were communicated only through writing or at the most. But now, e-science and e-research are conducted through various media. That is the departing factor. That is, social media like Twitter, Facebook, blog, LinkedIn, etc., is an efficient way for research scientists to connect with public at large. It is a tool that can reach millions of people with important data. So the ICT has provided new means of communicating scholarly works. Earlier, only published work was thus considered as the published work. Then there are academic social networks, the platforms or the media which are available for academic purposes. They are like social networks, but academic social networks are mainly used for academic purposes only, are similar to so, but designed for academic. These online platforms allow us to develop a profile and connect with other researchers, share academic related content. They are user friendly for presenting our research articles and other scholarly outputs to our colleagues and scholarly communities worldwide. So these are new tools or new media for communicating scholarly work. Now, some of the platforms which are well known, I just for the sake of younger people, just for their information, one is ResearchGate, then Academia Edu, and Mendeley. These are some of the internet-based facilities which are available for scholarly works. Then next, data intensive is a class of parallel computing applications which use a data parallel approach. The other type of computing which has been computer intensive, data intensive, minimize the movement of the architect. I think this is one of the slides, and there are some well-known models for data intensive computing. Friends, these are some of the available platforms, tools, etc., for data intensive computing. This is for information. The next, citizen science. It is completely new form of science where a layman or a common man or non-specialist is able to contribute actually to the development or advancement of computer science. So here I just read two cases A group of pygmies out for a hunt stop and gather around shattered remains of trees strewn across the jungle. I'm just describing a scenario. One of the hunters pulls out a small GPS device, marks the spot. Thousands of miles away in an office at the University College of London, a researcher adds the coordinates to an online map of Congo already speckled with the reported signage of illegal logging activity. Now you see how a common man with a GPS device who may not be even educated is able to detect or convey the illegal logging activities because of the technology. Across the Atlantic in Seattle, a teenager plays a computer game, carefully manipulating the branch-like shapes of proteins, watching her score rise and fall as she optimizes their configuration. Across town, researchers at the University of Washington harness her folding skills to identify protein configurations that might help them synthesize more effective drugs to fight AIDS. So you see, these are the two scenarios where a common man, even uneducated man, can contribute to the advancement of science. Here are some of the pictorial examples. The girl here is doing something, how to test water quality, and the data is going to some university or some research center. Similarly, these people are bird watching, etc. Because of, I think there is some slide, yeah, there, track bird migration. Now they are contributing to the study of migrations and all that. Then what happens? I don't know. This has got stuck. Can you help me? Ah, sorry. Now the next, this is the next one. Similarly, helping scientists document plant species. These children are taking species and all that, and some data or information, and then they are conveying it to some research center. Similar, the ladies monitor air quality at the bottom figure. Now they are doing all authentic work without much knowledge about what it is meant for, tracking tracking polluter and pollutions and helping scientists collect data and all that. So you can see how the sharing observations while star gauging and all that. So a common man can contribute because of the advancement of technology to advancement of science. Now citizen science, where it is most useful. This is called citizen science. In most generic sense refers to emerging practice of using digital technologies to crowdsource information about natural phenomena. Citizen science is the name for the scientific research project that engage members of the public in some aspect of the area. Data hungry fields like ornithology, methodological study and consequent knowledge of birds. Phenology, the study of cyclic and seasonal natural phenomena, especially in relation to climate and plant and ecology. I'll just have to adjust my slide. And ecology rely on geographically distributed volunteers to collect data on. So you can see massive participation of the non-specialist public can be quite useful. A highly educated scientist or trained scientist cannot go to every place on earth to watch birds of that particular area. So definitely technology has helped us in advancement of science by involving the common man. I don't know what happens sometimes. I'll take some time. Oh, sorry. Then that is the problem with PPT professor. Somebody has said professor has been spoiled by PPTs, and that is the case with me. Though I am quite an older timer, quite old time as Professor Horta told me, I belong to Education 1.0, but I am spoiled by habit, and sometimes it definitely leaves me in the lurch also. Utilizing fairly simple tools provided well designed. So these are some of the projects which are going on. in citizen science. This is another word. Please read it. These are the actually platforms available for us to participate in it. Friends, this is the last slide about citizen science. Juniverse is a citizen science web portal. Younger people should definitely participate in it, and the address is also given. And it was started by Slovansky and Lynn taught both astrophysics in 2007, and it is home to some of the internet's last, most popular, etc. Juniverse community consists of more than 2 million registered, etc., etc. Please read it. Now, these are some projects, as I in the beginning also gave 2 examples. These are also the projects in which international community, but all scholars are participating because of the ICT distributed computing and fourth paradigm of computing. This is International Space Station program in which 18 countries are part. Then another such project, Genome project, is almost successfully completed because of the ICT and participation of scholars from across the world. And Polymath project is a project on which people put mathematical problems and then they collectively solve, and some really difficult problems have been solved through the initiative, etc. So these are some of the projects, 2 projects earlier which were quite massive, and these are of lower level, etc. Now, friends, there are some scientific journals which publish both articles on science and e-science. So I'll request Professor Watson to distribute these slides, or these will be available on their website, so you can see some of the journals which publish articles on e-science also. Told you e-science is different from science. So some of the characteristics of your publication, required publication, may be different and maybe falling under e-science these journals publish. Challenging research. Now, friends, as I mentioned earlier, as academics, our responsibility is there to consider the potential harm. Because in e-science and e-research, the whole process has to know each click costs the environment. We must know this also. And it has become a very serious problem. We all, being in academics, it is our responsibility to think how to. This is a topic of talk or something else. Now, friendly, just for the sake of introduction, I just wanted 4 slides are there. That it is not only science to which this ICT is contributing. Rather, ICT is contributing more to humanities. In one lecture, I showed how the artists are using it, creating beautiful new paintings and music and all that. But here, because the time is already there, I'll discuss in 4 slides. What is the basic concept of digital humanity? Not going at all into applications and all that, but you should know that it is being equally, rather I feel it is more applied to humanities ICT than to the scientific endeavors. So what is digital humanities? The discipline is a relative new and evolving, and hence to give a definition is quite difficult, because when a discipline, it is not concretized yet. However, just to initiate the topic, we may start with the following working definition. Wikipedia says digital humanities is an area of scholarly activity at the intersection of computing or digital technologies and the disciplines of, that is, in all humanities disciplines, wherever we use computing and digital facility, that is called digital humanity. It includes systematic use of digital resources in humanities as well as analysis of their application. It is a vast area. Digital humanity may be defined as new ways of doing scholarship that involve collaborative, transdisciplinary, and computationally engaged research, teaching, and publish in humanities disciplines. Digital humanities, again, the term, when it was coined first time, the discipline may be quite old, but a name is given at a particular point of time. So, what is digital? One of the first mentions of digital humanities computing, earlier version of digital humanity to name activity was given by Heller and Langerman in 1960 in the article in CHUM. In 1968, Aldo Duro published a survey of humanities computing activities in Italy, which suggests that the term was already well known. CHM is the journal with the longest history in digital humanities, is Computers and Humanities earlier, which has been around since 1966, the journal was, and was renamed Language Resources and Evaluation in 2000. Another relevant journal in this respect for digital humanities is Literary and Linguistic Computing. In 2015, it was renamed as Digital Scholarship in Humanities. So, friends, I am just giving an idea what activities at research level are going on and what journals, etc., and how it evolved and all that. Well, Lady Lovelace was a friend of Lord Babbage, who is said to be the father of hardware computer engineer, and she has already said long back in 19th century that there is potential of using the computer when there was no computer system at all. She predicted that it will be used for arts and all that. Lady, she said all this one. Anyway, we go ahead because the now difference here. I think this is the last slide. If we want to summarize the difference in one sentence, humanities is solo music and digital humanities is orchestra. That is, conventional humanities involve single scholar. However, to create scholarly work in digital humanities, you involve many type of experts. A work in conventional humanities, whether it is some literary work, say research work, is done by a single person. A digital humanity work not only but many a times is software project around humanities theme. Apart from the discipline expert, it involves software engineers, web designers, programmers, etc. The digital humanities is interdisciplinary. So this is the basic difference. Examples of projects which are involving digital humanities, these are the three. I have mentioned 5 out of a number of projects which are ongoing in the area of digital humanity. Digital humanities is not simply digital plus humanities. I have told you, because of the various web designers, software engineers, you can create something unique which was not possible earlier. Therefore, it is not merely digital plus humanity, it is much more. I am coming another 10 minutes, I'm sorry. Issues leading to learning in 21st century. Well, friends, this is very important. We started, this is even not education 1.0 with which I started, is education 0.0 when Gurukul education was there. But up to 20th century, the essence was Gurukul style of producing knowledge. But that is changed in the 21st century. So our purpose is to discuss what is the change which has occurred in 21st century and how it impacts the quality of knowledge. So friends, in the light of that, we discuss these two slides. According to Eric Zimmerman, a game designer and writer on games, the 20th century is a century of information revolution, produced vast information network created by subject experts. Please note the word subject experts. Whole knowledge was produced by subject experts and was disseminated across the world, and the rest of the world accepted it as true knowledge. It was again says on the stage, that is, the expert speaks and the rest accept. There is not much difference. Only thing is, it is now through the technology. But what is the difference in the 21st century? Everybody is publishing. Therefore, the quality of knowledge must have gone down. That is the issue here. This is called ludic age. Ludic means playful game. Everybody is playing with the knowledge. Fake news and character assassination, that is also a news, but that is not true knowledge. So that is a disadvantage, and in that case, how our teaching and learning should take place so that we can distinguish between the true knowledge and fake knowledge. A new type of problem has arisen. Up to 20th century, it was says on stage. Ludic means showing spontaneous, undirected playfulness. In the last few decades, information has taken a playful turn. For example, Wikipedia is not about users accessing a store out of. It is not. It is people are participating, which is a good thing also. But not like citizen science. People are treating themselves as experts also. That is the problem. It is a messy, chaotic community in which the users are also experts who together create information. Create, not only use, while also evolving a system as a whole. What happens sometimes? Yeah. So friends, what is the special characteristics of 21st century? It is a ludic stage. It is not the sage on the stage. It is ludic. Everybody is treating himself or herself as, and in that case, it becomes more difficult to know the true knowledge from the fake knowledge. In order to explain and understand what ludic or playful means in general, let us consider the following. In general, especially on social media, everybody is, or at least potentially, is an author and publisher, publishing without any checks for authenticity and quality. Because of one above, otherwise we are living in post-truth age. Now we are not living in the age of truth. We are living in the post-age truth, in which the emotional appeal, rather than the logic, reason, or rationality, which guides us in what we publish and guides us in evaluating the quality or acceptability of received communication. If I have a particular political affiliation, I'll listen to that, I'll accept only that which is appealing to me. Similarly, the others, or whatever may be the sphere of life, I belong to a particular community. I may like to listen only the positive thing about my community, and it is published in massive ways. So this is a ludic case, but for the academician, it brings a new challenge. Up to 20th century, at intellectual level, humanity had one goal: to know the truth for satisfaction of intellectual hunger. But because of one and two above, the common goal now is lost. For the humanity as a whole, it is no more a purposeful game. But just I'll adjust my slide. Just 1 minute, please. Purposeful game with a common goal. There is no common goal, but it is purposeful play in which everyone is playing according to one's own rules instead of universally accepting the common good. Please look at this slide. This is a new challenge. Again, the slide is not moving. I think I may have to do something. Oh, sorry. Well, friends, what is the responsibility of teacher now? Therefore, teaching methodology needs drastic changes. Instead of making students make rote learning, as is very common even today, we need to train them interactive way of learning and knowledge generation. As knowledge, though quite imperfect, the knowledge may be imperfect, uncertain, vague, and true, is available at the click of a button. Instead of rote learning, skills for accessing the required knowledge, and the most important part, evaluating the quality of what is accessed. Now we should teach this skill of evaluating what is valuable, what is true, and not just rote learning. That is the new responsibility of the teachers. Now, post-COVID, another problem has arisen. The topic is being mentioned just to draw attention to how drastically the pandemic has changed the learning environment. So as we make ourselves think of how to help disadvantaged and suffering section of the society. Most of the learners from villages and lower strata of urban population do not have any online learning facility. On the other hand, please, this is very important. On the other hand, those who have these facilities have become netizens. My grandchildren use social media at least 5 to 6 hours a day, despite my many warnings and requests. So now those who have facility, they are again spoiled. Those who are not having the facility, they are again disadvantaged. We should look at this point. This doesn't mean that we should stop technology. No, not at all. But we should be aware of the issues which the new technologies are raising. And we must, in order for the universalization of sharing of resources, we must be aware of what is how the technology is creating differences in the society. So that is the purpose of these slides. Researchers, friends, I am talking of the last line of the netizens. Those who have the facility, they misuse, they are addicted to it, and researchers in social science and psychology have found that the impact of technology on our social, mental, physical, environmental health can be devastating if we don't stop ourselves in check. It is the conclusion of $1.5 million project. It is a paradox that internet that is supposed to connect people have been found reason for isolation. I find young people not at all speaking to the elders at all, whole day. We don't know our neighbors at all. We are so much addicted to the people whom we don't know at all. Apart from isolation, it has been found by researchers, it leads to lack of social skills, obesity, depression, poor sleep habits, and all that. Friends, we can't push these things under the carpet. This is also truth of the new technology. Well, you know all these things: electronic terrorists, bouncers, quick armies, unethical marketing. I call it always, I recall it. Steve Jobs, who sold Apple computers, in a recorded interview, has said that he did not allow any of his three children use of iPod more than 3 hours a week, and that also under his own supervision. But you see, he so unabashedly market the same to be used by children of others to be spoiled. The point of worry in these cases is that these activities are carried out at massive scale, carpet bombing without much physical effort, and so as to reach every person in every corner of the world. These are also worrying points. We need to consider being in academics, we are we are the conscience of the society. We must make the society aware. These are also the issue. Technology cannot wait, it must go on. But whatever are its side effects, we must be aware and we must remedy the consequence of that we cannot push those under the carpet. If you don't do this, particularly when the social media is used for abuse, one of the reasons is anonymity. Concluding remarks. I think the last two slides, I'm sorry it is a bit long. Among many serious problems, of course, there are beneficial aspects also arising out of the increasing use of ICT, particularly in delivery of learning. the issues raised in the last two slides. The 21st century is ludic, gameful, playful century. Please, it universalizes the last 2 minutes. It is, of course, it is universalizing the access to learning, but now the knowledge is ludic. It can't be reliable because everybody is an author. Post COVID-19 learning, where some are quite without any facilities and the other are being spoiled because of the overabundance of the resources. So friends, we have to take care of these ones. These are some of the references, books on e-learning, etc., journals and magazines. I'm sorry it is too long a lecture, but so with this, I stop. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the enlightening deliberation. I'm sure this insightful session has enlightened the participants about the real scenario and the different venues that Education 4.0 has opened up. But there are some questions by the participants which I'll now like to take up with your permission.
Please.
Yes, sir. So the first question we have is, how will ICT-enabled Education 4.0 help in overcoming the urban-rural digital divide in India, especially?
Yes, it is a really good question. I've told you that even I hope you know Kinnor in Himachal Pradesh. They have, of course, the internet facilities and all that. There were no roads, etc., no accessibility. There are many other villages in our hilly areas where earlier hardly education level was very almost zero. Now people, because of these ICT facilities, and the ICT facility, though, of course, I mentioned that there are haves and have-nots, but still, I can say these are quite cheap. And definitely, as I've shown in my slides also, Stephen Hawking is the best example. That is, or many other pictures I've shown. Those people would have led quite meaningless life has ICT been not there. Or as I said, in isolated areas, for example, in the hilly areas, even the governments make roads and everything, but those are washed away every year in the floods and all that. So many of the areas are quite isolated. But despite being physically isolated, they are connected for educational purposes, all that. So friends, on one hand, the physically disadvantaged, even the without sight or without hearing, etc., they are also getting the benefits of education and contributing quite meaningfully to the society. And on the other hand, people in isolated and many such examples you can find out. So ICT is definitely a particularly fourth paradigm where you can use the video and everything, which gives the impact of almost real presence where the things are happening. So definitely, I think ICT is contributing, and I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Sir, another question I have. India is a big country with over 22 official languages.
Yes,
Is ICT enabled education 4.0 actually successful in all these variety of languages? Because from the participant understanding, it is mainly English oriented.
very good. Well, friends, I may recall an incident of translation that in 1957 or so, the Americans were very much concerned about advancement in Russia, and they were emphasizing learning of Russian language and all that. So I don't remember the quote exactly, but the quote is something they translated the quote. The spirit is good, but the flesh is. Oh yes, I remember it. My memory is working very well. The flesh is weak, but the spirit is high. And you know how it was translated. It was translated. The vodka is good, but the flesh is rotten. I hope you understand. The spirit is high, but the spirit is high, but the physic is weak. So what I mean, say the spirit was translated to vodka, but now I myself experiencing, and I don't know whether you have heard of it or not. About 4 or 5 years back, or more than that, Obama visited China, and people listened him speaking fluent Chinese, because of the software. Nowadays, whenever I have some translation in Hindi, etc., or Gujarati or anything, I just cut and paste and just I get the translation. And not only it is the written translation, it is spoken translation. So what I mean to say, definitely English-centric education is not propagating the universality, but now the ICT is doing that job. So now I think already we are in this process. Definitely we should contribute in the regional language also, write original articles in regional languages, but ICT is helping us in the sense that you can get translation and good translation. It is not like vodka is good and meat is rotten. It is not like that. A lot of progress in machine translation also has, and I find most of the time I have to make about 5 to 10% changes in the meaning, etc. But translation is quite reliable. So what I mean to say, well, of course, our diversity, we have different languages, which is really a positive thing also. But so far education is concerned, definitely English-centric being a disadvantage. But now the ICT is providing all those tools so that you can read in your, study in your own language and all that. But it is the responsibility of the regional academicians also to write original good papers in their own that creates an environment. I hope this I've answered this question.
Absolutely, very rightly said, sir. Uh, Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the knowledgeable session. With this, we come to an end to this wonderful session. But first, I'd like to invite Huda sir to kindly present a certificate to Manohar Lal sir as a token of remembrance for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much, sir.
Professor Hotta, I'll request
Yeah.
you, even sometimes I have to get help from my granddaughter. So at this time, I'll get from some guidance from my child that
That's good.
I am not able to remove this slide from, and I am not able to see you all. So how should I do it?
We will end it.
I'm not able to see anybody.
No
So
worry, no worry, no
Sure,
worry.
sir.
And
should I?
डॉक्टर रीता इन्हें वो बंद करना बताओ भाई स्टॉप शेयरिंग
सर
My
ये नीचे स्टॉप शेयरिंग लिखा हुआ आ रहा है.
my friend has come, Professor Chaurasia, in Lucknow, and now I'm able to see. So anyway,
now now you are visible to everyone, sir.
I was not visible earlier, I think.
Because you are in the presented mode, and then in that case you need to set the screen anyway. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And these certificates and mementos are just Dr. Ritika, please share it. So these certificates and mementos are just a remembrance. It is not an acknowledgement, not a certification. A remembrance. When you see, at least you will remember me, remember our webinar series that we sustained it for fourth year, and we will continue to sustain it. And for all these wonderful sessions, after sessions, you have spoken at least on 10 such topics with all of us on this series. This is
It's
just
so
for
kind.
remembrance.
This certificate is much more valuable to me. It
Thank you.
involves the sentiments and other things, and it is, I'll always cherish this certificate. I'm
Thank
really
you so much, sir. और फिर मिलेंगे, sir.
Thank you. So I may go out now.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. So nice of you.
Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful session today. So,
Thank
dear
you.
participants, thank you, sir. So, dear participants, with this, we have come to an end to this wonderful webinar today. I would say with the epitome of knowledge who has elaborated all the aspects of Education 4.0. The feedback form link has already been shared with all the participants. The number of participants is reducing continuously. I hope all the participants have already received their certificates and are only then leaving the meeting room. The participants who are still there with us, kindly ensure that you have filled the feedback form and submitted it. Kindly check your inbox for your certificate of participation. Once you receive your certificate of participation, you are welcome to acknowledge and leave the meeting room. "50 certificates have already been generated. The last few participants who are still there with us, I request you all to kindly submit your feedback form. In case you are having a problem viewing your certificate, we are there to help you out. You're most welcome to write down a comment in the chat window if you're facing any problem. Thank you, Pankti, Kanak, Patel, Vikesh, sir, Manoj Kumar Jha, sir. Thank you, everybody. Your motivation means a lot.
Dr. Ritika.
The feedback form link has already been shared, dear participants. I request you all to kindly submit the same.
Dr. Ritika.
Yes, sir.
8 बजे बंद करना है, बंद कर लीजिए.
ठीक है, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Dear participants, we have another 5 minutes before we close this meeting room. So kindly